facing head-on the emotions beneath the surface as we bridge from an old world of confusion and lack to a beautiful new world of freedom, abundance, and love with straightforward truth and inspired hope is what you'll find on The Charla Anderson Show. Collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating. Here's your host, Charla Anderson.
Good, beautiful day, you beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of The Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating, especially you. So happy that you would join us today. We've got an incredible guest, Alan Mikolaj, who is just a dynamo in the heart-centered leadership. And we'll introduce him in just a moment. But we're here on this Win-Win Women platform. If you're listening on the live streaming services, you might want to jump on over to winwinwomen.tv, look for the Charla Anderson, search for the Charla Anderson Show, and that way you can interact with us as we move forward and have the Q&A. Thank you for joining us so much. And so every show, I like to begin with a centering moment as a breathing exercise. I call it a little mini vacation. It's 22 seconds, and if you want to join me, we're going to breathe in calm for 7 seconds. We're going to hold for 4 seconds, and we'll breathe out gratitude for 11 seconds. So let's do that really quickly so it helps us all take a moment to be still and know. Okay, here we go. Breathe in for 7, calm. Hold. Release. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think we should do that multiple times a day just to have a moment of quiet and away from our devices. Just something fun for me to do. And I cannot wait to introduce you to my guest today, my special friend, Alan Mikolaj, I believe is how we say it, even though it's spelled differently. We're going to spell it a couple of times in here because it's one of those names. So thank you for joining me, Alan. You're from Pearland, Texas. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. I was born and raised in Houston, near the coast down there. And so we're Texans, which I love. And you've already been published in the book series, The Change. And my book will be coming out soon. I cannot wait to know more about that. So here's my cover. Anyway, I'm going to introduce you, Alan, as just a leader's leader, an entrepreneur, a heart-centered soul that is just doing the right thing out there in the world to lift humanity. So tell us a little bit about Alan Mikolaj, Mikolaj, and then we'll talk about who you are in this world and what you do.
Wow. As you say, love-centered, heart-centered, purpose-centered is a very central aspect to who I am, value-centered. And I am a leadership development expert, a coach, change agent, and just love helping people to grow and become. Yeah.
Better human beings, serving humanity, right? This is loving. And I wrote in my description that, love is your secret sauce. And you actually have that in your bio. That you didn't say it was your secret sauce. I did, but I love that you said that because, and I say this on my show all the time, love, if God is love, he can't be not love. And I guarantee you, he loves you exactly who and where you are right this second, no matter where you are, no matter who you think you are loved. And so when we have that message and that method of uplifting people, like I know you do in your business, which is Layden Professional Services Limited or LLC, right?
Right.
We need to spell that Laedan.
Well, there's a story there, Charla.
I want to hear that story because, and I know the definition. I looked it up and I'm like, whoa, this is awesome.
So when I was writing this book several years back, A Travel Guide to Leadership, I was forming a company that with almost the exact same name to publish it and market it. And I also was using it in leadership development programs that I was using. And when you look up the word lead in the dictionary and go find the root word origins, laden is the old English for being on a journey or a journey guide. And so the very origins of the word lead are about being on a journey.
I love that because we are, aren't we? Aren't we all on a journey? We're on a life's journey, and here I am, on a journey. I'm from Texas, and I'm in Iowa, and it's beautiful and it's amazing and it's different. But here, the blessing of these last few years is that we can do these meetings and calls from anywhere in the world, basically. If you have, trying to find a good internet and a decent background. And I'm in a farmhouse in Iowa, and I'm so grateful that I didn't have to postpone or cancel or one or the other, right? I love that about our technology these days. And so when you say the LAEDAN, and the definition was just really amazing that it came out from through you, and you created your whole business around that idea of guiding people on their journey.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And I really want to return back to the other part of what you were asking and talking about, and that's this idea of love. Love is at the center of my life mission statement and my leadership philosophy statement, and at the core of what I do. Now, a lot of people in business, their culture may not support using the word love, but there are other words that can help express that in business and in leadership and in life, being in service to others, being compassionate, helping. I mean, what person is not in some way in service to others?
Exactly. So that reminds me of somewhere along the line, we have, I'm a Zig Ziglar Legacy Certified Trainer. And Tom and Julie and Cindy, and of course, Zig Ziglar had this whole philosophy about next man up. The people, the companies, the things that I associate with are in that mindset of we're all in this together. Let's make the next man up, help the next person through. And I do believe that heart-centered businesses are the next generation of businesses. I have a friend that started a company called Heart Profit, and I totally would love to connect you with Stacy Wright that started Heart Profit. And her whole philosophy is love your employees enough to serve them. And the Ziglar philosophy as well, Tom, the Zig Ziglar, when you meet the people's needs, find out what their dreams are and help them find the way to meet their dreams in your company and your people. And they may go on and do a different job or leave you, but they will never leave your loyalty, right? So those two companies are so aligned, I believe, with what yours is. And so tell me what you do professionally, what are this Laden Professional Services?
Well, I want to spin off what you just said about meeting needs just a minute before I answer that, if I may.
Perfect. Oh, this is your show. You tell me what you want to say. Yes,
oh, you're so gracious, Charla. Well, there's a book called The Servant Leader. The author's name is not popping off the top of my head right now, but in his book, he defines love as meeting the legitimate needs of others. And so when you talk about helping meet people's needs and that being, a form of love, if not love itself, certainly others have recognized it as that. But yeah, and there's no greater way that anyone, but particularly leaders, can help themselves do that better, whether you want to call it love or service or meeting the needs of my constituents. There's no greater way than getting clear on your purpose and helping others get clear on their purpose and connecting that to your greater collective purpose and shared purpose. Because we have individual purposes, we have shared purposes when we serve on a team or in an organization. And so being clear and leveraging your purpose and your shared purpose impacts so many different critical aspects of leadership and organizations. People call them metrics, employee engagement, revenue, profitability, retention. The list just goes on and on. The research is just so clear about how being clear and leveraging purpose-driven leadership impacts so much in the business world.
I read your chapter. I got your book yesterday or this week and read through your chapter in The Change. And I'm just so aligned with that purpose of loving people through these unsteady times, loving them at who and where they are, and just making an impact wherever you can, right? So
Mhm.
that one of the things I love too in your chapter is about in The Change, by the way, if you're not familiar with this, the Les Brown wrote the foreword. We're both in this book. You were in version 20, book
Mhm.
number 20. I'm going to be in 21. So very exciting to be participating with that. And that's how we met. And I'm so grateful for that. And you talk about at a very early age, your mother says, what's your vocation and what do you want to be it's not what do you want to be when you grow up, it's who do you want to be when you grow up, right? Isn't that more
Yeah,
what that
I open that's a true story. My mom says she doesn't remember it, but she's asked me that throughout off and on throughout my childhood and adolescence. But that it's one of my earliest childhood memories. So I must have only been maybe 4 or 5. Maybe I'm misremembering because it's so early of a memory. It may be I was in first or second grade, but somewhere early in my childhood, I remember my mom calling me into the kitchen and she got down on the knee. She says, Alan, what's going to be your vocation? And so from a very early age, I was being asked something that a lot of people are never asked. You know what? And from her context as a devout Catholic mother, she is trying to ensure that I connect that to God and spirit and that and service to the world. And so the funny thing is that despite having been asked that from a very early age, my road on discovering what that truly was just that. It was a journey, and it wasn't until I brought the very first life mission statement written. It was in 19 December 14th, 1986. So it was my 1987 life mission on a legal pad, right?
well, we didn't have computers much then, just barely.
And so it was
Where'd you
after having
find it?
I've kept them. I have a box up in the attic, and when I hung my own shingle and was developing the purpose-driven leadership program, I climbed up there and I've got to get this out for one of the videos when I'm talking about life mission and leadership philosophy, right? And so I hold it up very similarly in one of the videos in the course, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that while I felt like I had been on a journey with my life purpose, that very first one resonates with the one I have today. And so I even have that one here too. And so, it's much more refined and professional, right? On computer, like you said, but this idea of service is central to it from the very beginning.
It's who you are, right? You know, I'm a server, you're a server. We
Hmm.
serve and we
Hmm.
serve with love and we serve, and people are very attracted to that. I want to just mention that about you. I feel like, and I was a flight attendant for 34 years. So when, people would say, I mean, I could see in their faces, there were some really beautiful, special spirited seniors that, we often had the wheelchair passengers and things like that.
Hmm.
And I would just say, you have the most kind countenance. You just have a sweet spirit. And I say that to you, not because you're seniors at all,
Well,
not unrelated to that comment, but you have something that I'm going to guess that people, and I collect people in all these, right? I mean, I'm, I'm shopping and I make friends easily. And I think people feel the love or feel that special, I don't know, some people call it aura, your
mhm.
whatever you are exhibiting because you live in peace, because you live in love. You exude it out there. And so
Oh
I say
gosh.
unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, not unconditional boundaries. And the harder people are to love, the more they need it. But I believe you exhibit that, and I feel it through the screen.
You honor me. There is no greater gift than to have a central part of my mission, who my identity, than to have you affirm that. That is just beautiful. Thank you, Charla. That's
Well,
awesome.
thank you. I mean, this is when we met on a Zoom, and you reached out and we ended up having such a great, beautiful conversation. And I know, life is busy. You've got twin children, right? Twin
Twin
boys.
boys, yeah.
And grandkids and all that is going on. And, I call it, there's never nothing to do.
But making that time to have nothing to do is very important as well, right?
Exactly. And really choosing, it's a choice to go, okay, that 20 minutes of meditation or prayer or quiet time is like sharpening the saw, right? You sharpen the saw and that gives you the energy to keep going. So I want to know something about your clientele. Who are you serving in a professional way? Because I know you're serving on a community way, and and you're also a critical incident specialist. Man, that's a tough one, when that and all of those things. So lots of hats you're wearing.
Well, I don't currently wear the critical incident stress management hat, though I did I did that for about 20 plus years. I don't know that we mentioned, but I was an Army medic back in the late 80s, mid 80s. And then in the late 80s, when I got out, I got my paramedic license. And as the 80s rolled into the 90s, and I then started teaching at the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio, teaching paramedics and nurses and doctors on pre-hospital trauma life support and helping paramedics, through our paramedic program. There were two major transitions that were happening at that time in the world of emergency services workers. And that was that women were beginning for the very first time to more abundantly show up. My mom is actually one of the first EMTs in Texas. That's where I got my inspiration to get into emergency medical work. And the other big thing that shifted was the recognition of the psychological impact of that kind of work. And so I was one of the early leaders back in those days to help form critical incident stress management teams here in Texas. And ended up writing a small supporting textbook for emergency services workers. So whether you're a firefighter, police officer, paramedic, dispatchers, all of those people. And so especially after these critical incidents like a child death or a major event, a loss of life, like when a firefighter dies in the line of duty. And so what happens, what a lot of people in the general public don't know is that after those, sometimes during, but mostly after those incidents occur in the background, beautiful volunteers come in and go through debriefings with them and help them to mitigate the impact that event might be having in their lives. And secondarily, to help identify anybody who might need more professional help and go seek psychotherapy or a psychologist. That was a large part of my life for 20 years, both EMS and critical incident stress management. When I got out of that work and got my master's in clinical psychology, I started at Quest Diagnostics as a training specialist. And through that career, that's where I began to first dabble in coaching with frontline leaders, professional development, leadership development. And after doing that for a number of years for Quest Diagnostics, at that time, they didn't have learning and organizational development specialists. And so I learned that there's such a thing as learning and organizational development specialists that do leadership development and coaching and that sort of thing. So I reluctantly jumped ship because I loved working at Quest Diagnostics and then went to work for the parent company, Common Spirit Health, now that owns the greater Houston area and Texas, the St. Luke system. And so I did a lot of intense leadership development work there. I led a team that helped design a high potential leadership development program and then was asked to administer that program. And so I gathered faculty, the CEO, CFO, chief nursing officer, chief medical officer, and others from around the business unit. And my colleagues, my boss, and myself, then we all facilitated select workshops over the course of a year. And that's one of the first places I more fully developed what now has grown into this purpose-driven leadership program. In a program like that, you're lucky if you get, a sliver of a workshop time, for that. And so with all the work I had done with leaders from the front line to the C-suite, I realized that, and the research that I've read, and the firsthand work, that leaders were just not getting the tools that really move the needle on things like employee engagement, productivity, retention, uh, revenue, and just a whole host of things, well-being, their own effectiveness, and how their constituents view them as leaders. And so what they call leadership presence today. And so the foundation for that is purpose-driven leadership, identifying and clarifying what that is for you as a leader, and then being able to leverage that. And then how do you then take that to a team level and or even an organizational level? And so you asked earlier some of the things I do. That program can be taken completely on demand and online. I can do it hybrid, where we do some version of online, or I can deliver it in a series of workshops live in person. And so, which is the best way to have it done. Learning in person is always more meaningful. And so I also offer coaching from frontline leaders to the C-suite, confidential, professional, safe places to have discovery of issues and obstacles, and or I'm doing okay, but I want to go from good to great, as the book is, right, right. And so coaching is a great way to do that. I offer 360-degree leadership assessments, the LPI, or the Leadership Practices Inventory, to leaders, so that they can get an assessment on their behaviors and how people perceive them, and how they show up as a leader. I'm a change agent. So if they have projects that they're working on or about to implement, they have something that they need to implement, a new SOP, or they have some sort of process that they're trying to improve, or just recurring problems on their team, and they want someone to come help them with the people side of change and help them manage that. I've been doing that for years too. So that's sort of the repertoire of what I offer. And there's just nothing that gives me greater fulfillment than to see a leader grow, change, and look me and say, thank you for helping transform my leadership. But even better, and I've had several leaders tell me, you haven't just transformed my leadership, you've transformed my life, or helped transform my life. They actually do all the work. I'm just the catalyst, right?
Well, we need, sometimes we just don't know what we don't know.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
you've got, I'm wondering about, so people need to, if they want to find you, we'll just say it here, alanmikolaj.com, but go ahead and spell your name, how you,
Right. Yeah.
because there's
Yeah.
both names can be spelled differently.
Differently, right, right, of course. So my first name is Alan, Alan, and Mikolaj, my Czech last name, is spelled M as in Mary, Ikol, A as in Apple, J as in Jack. And so my website is that, alanmikolaj.com, AlanMikolaj.com. And my email is alan@alanmikolaj.com. So, and I'll put that into the chat here in just a little bit.
Well, fine. We want people to find you, but I have a
Mhm.
question for those leaders that you're leading. Do How important, they wouldn't be coming to you if they didn't recognize a need or be driven to you by someone who sees that they have a need for leadership development training. How big is desire to change from that? Because back in our day, my day, it was top down management. You
Mhm.
do what I say, and you're out of here, you're fired. But so if how big is leadership, or desire to change, part of the, I mean, I'm sure there's people that don't care.
Right. It's a critical piece, and they're not going to reach out to me if they haven't, had some sort of impetus, anxiety, or a boss saying, find a coach, or I've seen this purpose-driven leadership program and what it can do. I want you to go take it, or your team. I want you and your, because some the when I think about my mission, people always ask me, well, what kind of leader do you work with, or what industry? And it doesn't matter. I want to help anyone and everyone. I said, well, but I do have like an ideal leader. And that's the higher up that food chain, or that hierarchy that you talked about, the greater the umbrella that they cast. And so the, the director's going to cast a wider umbrella than the supervisor. The vice president's going to have a wider umbrella than the director. The CEO is going to have the widest umbrella. And so when I can work with those people, and what's really interesting is that most of the dynamics don't change, like the foundations, like having a leadership philosophy and purpose. And I know we're getting close to time, but it's that leader that I love working with the most. That is exactly what you just said. They're not afraid to say, I need help. Nobody does this alone. Nobody's on an island, and I need it to be confidential. And so that's where I come in.
I think it's amazing. And I feel, I think, do you help peel away ego? I mean, I feel like that a lot of leaders, some are, I'll relate it to my perception of customer service, so to speak. So, you're in a line at an airport, and you see, please not that one, you can use it. So my definition for me is, there's a customer service that has empathy, that cares, that wants to do, oh my gosh, I would do anything to help you. My hands are tied, whatever, having empathy and caring about the person. And then I call the other one the enforcer, the enforcer, that the only control I have over my life is over you right now, and you're not getting it. You probably noticed those two extremes of customer service, but I'm guessing it relates to leaders as well.
Well, leaders typically, when they're considering working with somebody like me, they are usually not going to come into a discovery conversation and say, hey, I need help with my ego. That's just not going to come up, right?
I think what they're going to say, talking about more of your observation rather than your admission.
Yeah. What they're going to say is, hey, I need help building culture, or my engagement scores are down and I need to lift them up, or I'm having a retention problem, or all of the above. And so then through the process of working with me on those issues, as we go through discovery and as the trust builds in the relationship, over time, they might have developed the self-awareness, because now they hear what people are saying. They're getting feedback from that assessment I was telling you about, or I make an observation in coaching about something that they just described, and the light bulb goes off, but I don't force feed in coaching anything. The ICF's model of coaching is not that model at all. It's client driven. So the closest akin that people might be aware of is like Rogerian unconditional regard in psychotherapy. ICF coaching is very similar to that. I'm there 100% for that person.
I love it. I think about coaching versus therapy, right? So therapy to me is like, we're looking at the past, what went wrong, and that's okay for a moment, but don't stay there. Coaching is about where we're going, right? And looking forward. And I think one last thing, and I know I want to invite you to share some beautiful poem and all that. And I want to ask you this, because Win Women, the platform that I am choosing to launch be on here, and it's on a lot of other platforms, but we're primarily a women-run organization, and female globally. So do you notice in your coaching that how does it relate women to men, as far as, the numbers or receptivity or things like that?
In private practice, most of my clients have been women. I don't know why. I've only really been in practice for about a year and a half. And so it's not a huge number once I've left the corporate world. When I was in the corporate world, it leaned toward women because I was in healthcare, and healthcare is, predominantly nurse managers and directors, and those that move that are women, but there's a lot of men there too. And I've coached them as well. It's really interesting because I'll give you an example. I had one woman leader that was talking about, she was, in her self-perception, a little more dominant than she thought. And she felt like she wasn't approachable. And so and through coaching, we talked and discovered a lot about that. And so one day I said, do you want to brainstorm? She was kind of stuck with that. I said, just a suggestion if you're open to it. So she said, yeah, sure. And I said, why don't you go ask a few people that you trust, that are around you, sideways in your current role, on your team, and those that report to you. And she came back just so relieved because everyone she talked to said she was very approachable and that was not even an issue for her as far as they could tell. And so a lot of
Interesting in
times,
our own perceptions,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
We're our own worst critic, and it does
Exactly.
sometimes take someone to lift us up a bit and or tell us it feels good. Encouragers need encouragement too, is one of my sayings, right? So, is there, you want, often say, do you have last words but that you say, and we'll open it up if anyone wants to come on and have conversation, ask questions, have conversation, have encouragement. We can do that in just a moment. But I know you have a beautiful poem that I'd love for you to read. I asked you to sing it and you said no.
Yeah, this is a poem that is in that book, A Travel Guide to Leadership, but it's also, I'm gonna share my screen. This is actually a page out of the e-workbook that goes with the purpose-driven leadership. Is that showing up for you, Charla?
It is. It's
Okay.
beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, it was actually pointed out to me when I was writing the book. I had a group of family and friends that were my editors, and my good friend and brother-in-law, who his wife is here with us, Renee. He's the one that suggested I put this into the book because it was all about that purpose part of it and finding your life mission. And so it's by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, called The Winds of Fate. One ship drives east and another drives west. With the self same winds that blow, 'tis the set of the sails and not the gales that tell them the way to go. Like the winds of the sea are the winds of fate as we voyage along through life. 'Tis the set of the soul that decides its goal and not the calm or the strife.
I get chills. I love that so much. That my daughter, that's a tall ship, the picture that's in that. My daughter's named the Alyssa, or Alyssa after the Alyssa.
Oh, in Galveston?
Elissa, the tall ship in Galveston.
Oh, we were just in Galveston a couple of weeks ago and ate near the Alyssa. Oh, wow. I
It's a
love that.
beautiful
It
ship,
is.
isn't
It
it?
is beautiful. Yes, she is.
Anyway, she goes, I was named after a boat. Well,
Well, I
it's
do
a
want to. I
beautiful
do
one.
want to extend the offer to anyone that is either here live, or if you can find my email, alan@alanmikolaj.com. I will send you, if you email me. I'm going to make 3 promises to everyone here. If you email me, I will send you a PDF version of this for free. I also have a white paper about the course that
Of the change, so
the
for
change, yeah, for the
listeners
audio
later that
listeners,
aren't
yes,
watching,
the
yeah,
change
the
insights,
change.
the volume 20. I'll send you my featured author copy, and I'll make you 3 promises. So first is I'll send that to you. The second promise I'll make is about a week later, I'll follow up and just ask you what you thought, and ask if you want to network with me. No sales gimmicks, just meet. I love meeting, especially, yeah, anyone, but especially leaders. So, and you don't have to. But I'm also going to promise not to do something. After events like this, when people do say that, and enter your email and you get a free gift, then your inbox is just bombarded with, for weeks, and you have to unsubscribe. I'm not going to do that. If you don't want to talk to me and network and meet me and talk in person, just say no or don't respond and say thank you for the book in your heart, and just, that's okay. But I do want to offer everyone the opportunity to connect in a deeper way and to break the ice. I'm happy to send a free e-version of the book.
I think that's a beautiful offer, and I also love the promises, and I want my growth, my friends, my list to be organic, and obviously that's what you're doing too.
Exactly.
So thank you for all of those things. You have a last word, and then we're going to go to anybody that wants to come on video and ask questions. Now's the time. Just as Alan's, you can put them in the chat, but I just can't, unless I put my glasses on and squint, I can't see them. So, we can make it work. So anything you want to add last minute here, Alan? Thank you for everything, all your wisdom.
Charla, thank you. Your grace and your gifts of yourself to the world are just amazing. You honor me by bringing me onto your show, and all of your kind words. Just thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So We can continue and just chat and talk whatever it comes to mind. And if someone in the audience would like to just please come on video, or just take yourself off mute if you don't want to come on video, either way, and just chat with us. This is the interactive time that When Women allows me to have live interaction if we want to. Sometimes we record it, sometimes we don't. If it's personal, I would actually edit it out if there's something you wanted to say, or we can unmute or turn off the recording. Anybody out there? Hey.
Oh, hello.
Somebody.
So,
Hello.
Alan, I wanted to, I've heard you speak on gratitude before, and I think that's such and we actually started this meeting talking a little bit about gratitude. And I was just wondering one more time if you would please share your impressions of gratitude, the importance of it, and the best way to really approach gratitude.
Don, you're amazing. Don is a dear friend and former colleague. Thank you for your question. I call gratitude the bridge to success. It's my second core value, second to love. And so we don't have the time to go into the full answers that Don, but he's absolutely right to point out how powerful gratitude is. And so there's lots of work around in the literature too, as how gratitude boosts endorphins, well-being, happiness, and success. And so fostering gratitude is an amazing way to improve your life in so many ways. And so you can do it formally with gratitude journals. You can carry a gratitude rock in your pocket, and every time you touch it, you think of something that you're grateful for in that moment. There's lots of different ways of this.
So, and we've got a few more minutes. It's hard out at 2:00, top of the hour Central Time, but otherwise we can, with flexible a little bit. I try to usually 40 or 50 we get on out. But two things: gratitude is one of my top core values as well, and it's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I wake up in the night, I'm saying thank you. I don't know what I'm thankful for. I'm driving. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just thank you for your shield of protection. Thank you for loving. Thank you for the air, the free oxygen I'm breathing. Thank you. And when you walk in that, it attracts a lot more things to be grateful for.
It does.
As opposed to complaining, which also attracts more things to complain about. So my book, this split second transformation, change your words, change your life, 31 daily practices, every word matters. Speak what you want, not what you don't want. So gratitude, just walking in the gratitude of the miracle of life, even in the worst circumstances on the face of the earth. You could be in the war zone, you could be in a gutter, you could be in an accident, whatever. There, if you can take a breath, you have something to be grateful for right then and there. A breath, which is the I am of life, right? So the great I am coming into you every breath.
I love that. The great I am is in my travel guide to leadership book. I write about.
Oh, really? Okay. I wrote the love is the secret sauce, and you had secret sauce in your book. We've got some continuity here that's just crazy. I love it.
I've got to share two gratitude rituals that I do really every single night. It's rare that I ever miss it, but one involves the twin boys. So even though they're 8, we still have grandma's rocker she gave us that we cuddle up in every night, and we say what you're grateful for that day, and then we listen to a song about gratitude. And then privately, I do a mental version of the gratitude journal that is, I am thankful for fill in the blank. And then because part of that is important. It connects brain and heart and helps us to bring greater meaning to it. So, for example, one of the things that sometimes comes up on my list is I'm thankful for I can afford a Starbucks cup of coffee. Because is important, Charla, because when I was a single dad with my older 2 boys from a previous marriage, there was a time I couldn't afford a Starbucks cup of coffee. And so when I achieved the success where it doesn't, I don't even have to worry about that anymore right now. And so to remember that and to say, I'm thankful that I had a Starbucks today because of the abundance it represents in my life, that shift is so much more than just saying I'm thankful for a cup of coffee, right?
That's perfect. Yeah. And somehow or another, you talked about the twins, and I wanted to go back to our original conversation just for a moment about what if our next generation, every child, I'm already talking to my 2.5-year-old grandbaby, it's like, I am, she goes, I say, I am, and she goes, happy, so I'm trying, and I want her to, they're not doing, I would say daily prayer or anything like that. So I'm trying, when I have her, I'm like, I'm thankful. I'm happy that I have, or I'm thankful for. But what if, I bet you that you ask your children, do you think your vocation will be? Who will you be in this world? And that's when I ask you in the beginning, often I say, who are you in this world? Then we'll talk about what you do, right? So
Well, and
you've
it's
got to
funny because,
learn who you be.
yeah, when we ask those kinds of questions, like, what do you want to do when you, or what do you want to be when you grow up? You're asking, what job role, do you want to be a police officer or a doctor or whatever it might be, right? And of course, we ask those questions. And it's funny that, they'll oftentimes say, well, I don't know yet, and I'm like, good, that's okay. You're just 8 years old. More importantly is, who are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to be a person of love and service and helping others in some way? That's more important than anything else.
And those decisions, I just was how old was he? Just here, 13. Young man was here and I'm visiting, and I said, I had a moment. I was like, are you going to be a leader? You really need to decide now if that's the case, because your values are going to be following you. They will help you make decisions for the rest of your life. Every value is important. Somebody raised their hand. You're choosing your values right now is important. And if they can start, it will help them make decisions for the rest of their life, right? I can't see the name because I don't put
that is my lovely wife.
Hi, come on. Can you turn on your video so we can all see you? Or you don't have to, but it would be fun. Hi.
That's my mother there with her.
You are awesome, Alan. I think I got my diploma for being a mother.
Vocation. I love the term. What is your calling? That's beautiful. Nice to have you with us today. Thank you. You have any other, you got your diploma, parenting diploma, yeah. And grandparenting, I'm sure too. What a blessing.
And great grandparenting.
Oh, cool.
How many grandkids and great grandkids do you have, Mom?
17 grandchildren, 13 great grandchildren.
That's a big family reunion. Big Christmas dinner.
You should see the table my husband built, huh?
She is a teacher of service and love. That woman right there, she is amazing.
No higher blessing than to be called blessed by your children. That was beautiful.
Hi, Charla. I can't figure out how to raise my hand, but my name's Miriam.
Hi, Miriam. Hi, Miriam.
One of my favorite things about Alan is how consistent he is in his journey. As leaders, we can say whatever we want, but people are watching us. And I watch Alan, and this message of gratitude, it's so consistent. It's been for me like 8 years. And so he's made me a better leader. He's made me a better person. And it's that, who do you want to be? It's not what you do. It's who are you? Because you could go do anything, but you can't change your character, your integrity, unless you choose it. And so my heart is so full that I'm here to get to listen and share with both of you and just appreciate the gratitude and to appreciate the journey. Because to me, that's Alan's commitment. The commitment is to the journey. And if the journey is smooth all the time, who cares? Nobody's going to listen to us if it's all roses and sunshine. They're watching what we do when there's transition, when there's change, when there's pressure, when there's all these things. Who are you when it's crunch
tough?
time?
Yeah, when it's tough.
When it's tough. And so I just appreciate the gift of the journey, the gift of gratitude. I was glad to see Alan's mom. He looks just like her, but he talks about her all the time. And it just makes my heart full. So I'm just appreciative to be here.
Oh,
Thank you for
Miriam,
joining
you
us.
just honor me. Now, Miriam is an amazing, inspiring, and powerful leader who has her own story. If there's someone you should have on your show, it would be Miriam. She is amazing.
Okay, well, Miriam, Charla at charlaanderson.com. I just send me
Okay.
an email and I'll send you an invitation
I
because
would love that.
yeah, I've got some I booked 120 days out and it got full and now it's not. So we got some spots coming up.
Awesome.
Love to.
I will
Miriam.
email. Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyone else have something want to jump in and shout? We gotta just take another minute or so, and then if not, we're gonna shut her down. And I do this every single week, and it's fun, and it's I just do it because I want to offer hope and encouragement and tell people stories of overcoming. And Alan, you overcame a lot, and you talked about divorce, and you talked about not being able to afford a cup of coffee, and and you talked about. You told me that you got fired after extremely successful building of something, and so nobody gets through without some bumps in the road, and we all have a story to tell, and every story matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Miriam highlighted that for us. So thank you, Miriam. But that is true. That no journey is without its bumps, its storms, its obstacles. And no journey is without having the need to take a pause and rest and be a sojourner for a moment, right?
And adjust your sails.
As sails,
so go
right?
back to the
Yeah.
sails and the goal,
Mhm.
this sail, SAIL, adjust your sails, for the wind that you're facing and which direction you want to go. And this, I told this young man, I was like, you don't have last second, last week, last minute, last word, nothing that you've experienced from Let There Be Light. You can't change anything there. But if you take a stand right now and make a change in your next word, and I apologize, I messed up, and I'm going to do better and make a new agreement, move forward. You never have to, just get really discouraged because you always have the next breath and the next word until you don't. And that's why we're living this dash very intentionally, aren't we?
Charla, I just want to thank you for your gift of love today, not just from you, but you've helped bring together everyone that's in that participant list are people that I love dearly. And to see their support and feel their love is just, you've blessed me today.
That is awesome. I don't see it. So I don't have that up. I just have you and me up. So anyway, this is the Charla Anderson Show, Collector and Connector, fascinating people, and everyone is fascinating, live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on Win-Win Women Network and all the streaming services. But I do encourage everybody to come back to the Win-Win Women, because then we can chat and have some interaction, and it's so much fun to do that and encourage each other, lift each other up. The end of my show, typically, I just, by the way, charlaanderson.com is my website. So it's being upgraded a little bit right now. I think in the next few weeks, it will be a little bit more fun or better representative of what I can offer and share with you. And so thank you so much for joining us, listening in now, listening in later. And Alan has been a huge blessing to my world in the last few months since we've met. And I'm so grateful that you joined us today. And I always like to end, and I will hit the end recording just by saying, always, 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 always choose joy.
Parting is such sweet sorrow. The Charla Anderson Show, encouraging you to stand strong and courageous with bold faith, no fear, immense hope, kindness, and love, especially towards yourself. Visit charlaanderson.com for replays, blogs, and more on her ever-expanding website, as well as watch her live TV show on winwinwomen.tv, Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And so that we can continue learning together and growing this community of beautiful souls, we invite you to share the Charla Anderson Show with your circle of friends. Until we meet again next week, remember always, choose joy.